Welcome into College Football Smothered and Covered. My name's Barrett Sallee. It's been a while. It's been a while since last Wednesday, since we've had a live version of this show. Sure, we had Weekend Feast over the weekend, but it was Easter break. And look, I had to take the family down to Okaloosa Island. Fantastic vacation. Had a great unit with Coastal Vibe Vacations. So coastalvibevacations.com if you want to look them up. They've got units all over Okaloosa Island. So check them out when you get a chance. Like I say, every single episode here on College Football Smothered and Covered, go listen to everybody on the Believe Network. Go listen to Josh Pate. Go listen to JD Piquel. Go listen to Andy Staples. All those guys. You deserve college football 24/7, 365, and SEC filtered as well. You deserve all of this. So make sure you go and listen to all of those guys. Because look, honestly, come on. We don't want to hear a debate between Michael Jordan and LeBron James. That's ridiculous. Nobody really cares. College football is the most undercovered sport in all the land. So we are here for you. So give us 5 stars. Give us 1 star. Leave a review. I don't really care. I like constructive criticism. So if you don't like the show, let me know why, and we will make it better just for you. Breaking Tea. Go to breakingtea.com/smothered and covered. This is an Oklahoma State shirt. We will talk about Oklahoma State a little bit later in the show. But Pokes, you won the last one. The best in Oklahoma again. You know you love this shirt. I know how deep that rivalry is. It's one of the most underrated rivalries in the entire country. So Oklahoma State fans, go check that out. breakingtea.com/smothered and covered. All right. One of the most heated conversations in college football, and it's all the time. Sure, we might not do it, every day, but a lot of people have strong opinions on Notre Dame. A lot of people want to know, hey, why are you so arrogant? Why won't you join a conference? And look, I've argued for a long time, why bother? Why bother joining a conference? There's no need to, because they are very successful. And Pete Bevacqua, the athletic director for Notre Dame, said as much. And if you're watching, you can read this. If you're listening, I'll read it to you. This is a quote from an article from Heather Dinich. "We are now in as good a position as we've ever been in the modern era of college football to be independent," said Bevacqua, who is a 1993 Notre Dame graduate as well. You see all the conference realignment. You see that's happening. I think in our position, being independent in football is, quite frankly, the best. And he's right. Notre Dame should stay independent as long as humanly possible. Why? 2 things. Exclusivity on NBC. Not exclusive. They have Big Ten affiliation. So let's go back in time a little bit. Notre Dame should stay independent because it's financially responsible. They've got to deal with NBC. Now, it's not one of those that, and now it's changed a little bit with other conferences popping in. But Notre Dame home games are on NBC, period. End of story. On network TV, that absolutely matters. And that contract pays them a lot of money. Maybe not as much as the SEC and Big Ten are making. Definitely not as much as the SEC and Big Ten are making. But enough to keep the program completely healthy, because they also get ACC money as well from the other sports. So the financial aspect of Notre Dame staying independent, it's obvious. It's there. And the college football playoff money will absolutely help. They're getting about $10 or $11 million for making the college football playoff. And I know the natural reaction is, why? That's not fair. Notre Dame, they don't deserve it, and they're always overrated and blah, 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 blah. I'm going to tell you guys something that I've told a lot of people, and it's 100% accurate, and I know Notre Dame is one of the most divisive programs in all of college football. Notre Dame's not overrated. Where are they in the preseason AP top 25 or coaches poll or whatever? Generally speaking, they're about 10 through 20. Maybe they start back into the top 10 or whatever. Guess where they end up? Middle to back of the top 10, or certainly 10 through 20. That's not overrated. That's properly rated. And there's a great graphic out there. It shows consistently where Notre Dame starts and where Notre Dame finishes. And the only one that's backwards is 2016. And that was when they went 4-8 under Brian Kelly. So why would Notre Dame change that in the 12-team playoff era? They're never going to be a top 4 team. They can't by contract. Those are reserved for the top 4 conference champions. So if you're going to make the college football playoff essentially every single season, maybe not completely, but in the 12-team version, it's only 2 years. They'll probably make it at least one of two. I'd be surprised if it wasn't both of them. And then the 14-team playoff, which we all know is coming, starts in a couple years, in 3 years. Then Notre Dame's got even more of a chance. And I saw there was I can't remember who it was. It was some writer who does not cover college football on a daily 24/7 365 basis, who said when the new format was announced that Notre Dame's getting screwed because they'll never have a bye. Why? They'll get a home game probably every year. If not, they'll be on the road pretty much every year. So until that changes, and Notre Dame, Swarbrick first proposed this, and now he's no longer there, but Notre Dame loves this system because they get all that money. They get that access. And I know, I hate that word. They get access. But that's a different conversation for a different day. Because this is all about what Notre Dame should do and what the reaction from fans is. Notre Dame doesn't need to join a conference. So Vivek was right. This is something that's going to stick around for a long time. Notre Dame, independence, that equals success for the program. And I'll tell you another thing. Notre Dame's not only making this year's playoff, they're going to get a home game. So 4 through 8 or 5 through 8. Someone's got to do it. It's one of those things where when you talk about teams being overrated, well, somebody's got to be properly rated. You can't say 7 of the 10 teams in the top 10 are overrated because somebody's got to be there. So, yeah, generally speaking, it's going to be Notre Dame, and the schedule sets up really, really well for them. So, yeah, Notre Dame's making this playoff. They should stay independent because everything works in their favor. And I'll tell you this. I used to work at CBS, right? And they had 2 doubleheaders every single year. There was the 3:30/8 o'clock one that was almost exclusively set for Alabama LSU, with Alabama LSU being the night one. They also have a 12 o'clock/3:30 doubleheader that's usually mid-October, late October. Well, in 2019, Georgia played the second end of a home and home with Notre Dame. And I tell you what, it was a no-brainer. Now, look, I didn't make the TV decisions as much as you guys wanted to yell at me on X. I didn't make those decisions. But I guarantee you, in those boardrooms, it was a no-brainer. 8 o'clock, it's the CBS doubleheader against Georgia between the hedges. And it was a great game. Was it worth sacrificing LSU versus Alabama in Tuscaloosa that year? It was worth way more than that. That game is like printing money. And that's why every single road game, you watch this in 2024, every single road game, which are the games that Notre Dame has no ownership of, those games are always on major networks. I'm talking Fox and big time ABC. And I would even say, usually it's not even ESPN, unless it's like Pitt or something like that, Syracuse. That's how valuable Notre Dame is. So, yeah, Stay independent. They should stay independent. They will stay independent. No, they shouldn't join a conference because it's all about money and they make a lot of it based on the current setup. There's no doubt about it. So, yeah, enough with the Notre Dame should join a conference stuff because I saw a lot of it over the weekend in Okaloosa Island. There's no reason for it. All right. My former colleague, Will Backus, over at CBS Sports. It's list season, so he had to do a list. Georgia, Ohio State, Utah lead 16 college football teams in the best position to make the expanded college football playoff in the 2024 season. All right. I don't envy Will at all. I love Will. He's a good dude. I don't envy him doing this because, look, he has to make decisions based on teams that we don't even know what the rosters are going to look like. So he's going to get yelled at quite a bit because a lot of these teams are going to have massive roster movement. We're going to not know exactly who's going to be where, when, why, how, all that stuff. But it's list season. And so there are 16 teams. We're not going to go through all of them. We're just going to go through a few, including Utah at number 3. And this drew a lot of questions, concerns, comments, all that stuff. Cam Rising back. We'll see how healthy he is. I would imagine he's healthy. You have the Big 12, and you have a team that wins at the line of scrimmage consistently. Plus, you're in a conference. Who's the favorite? Kansas State? Well, yeah, if you look in Vegas, and I know we talk about it all the time, Vegas lines this time of year only to draw attention, but Kansas State's the most likely team to win the Big 12. I think it's Utah or Oklahoma State, and clearly Will does too. I think Utah is in a spot right now that it can make noise, even if it doesn't earn one of those top 4 seeds. What does Utah do? They might not beat you, but they will beat you up. They will knock the crap out of you. They will make it hurt. Is that good enough to be, I don't know, 10-2, a 1-loss Big 12 team? Maybe even a 2-loss Big 12 team with two overall losses, both of them in the Big 12. Yeah, it could happen. Absolutely. And that's why when I'm talking about the Big 12 this year, and you're going to hear this a lot from me, when I'm talking about the Big 12 this year, it's going to sound funny. It's going to sound weird. You're going to be like, what the hell's wrong with him? Well, someone's got to win the Big 12. And most likely that team will get a top 4 spot. Not buying Kansas State, although I love Avery Johnson. You guys have heard that ad nauseum from me so far. I like Cam Rising even more. So 100% I'm on board with Utah, maybe not being 3, but being high up on this list because the conference is easy. They win at the line of scrimmage, and they've got a great quarterback, assuming he's healthy, and all indications are that he is. Whoa, Oklahoma State's on there as well. Good job, Will. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Oklahoma State, to me, is going to get the number 4 seed overall in the college football playoff. That's my opinion. It could be Utah. It's going to be one of those two. The Big 12 is in for a big treat with Oklahoma State because this team is loaded. Yeah, they've got Ollie Gordon II. I get that. Everybody in the offensive line returns. That generally equals success, especially if you don't have to do an awful lot to make the playoff. Quarterback set in stone. And how floored would you be if it was Utah, Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship game? I wouldn't. And so if Oklahoma State, the winner of that game gets the 4 seed, because I don't think a group of 5 teams is going to get the 4 seed. Not going to be one of the top 4 conference champions. So yeah, Oklahoma should be on this list as well. I love that Will added the Pokes. Because, and look, I'm not going to get too much into specifics as to why. There's an element of college football, media and other people who almost feel like, it almost feels like they want Mike Gundy to lose. And yet he's, to me, a top 10 coach in the country. That dude's a winner. That dude is an absolute winner. He knows how to use his roster to the best of its ability. He knows how to develop within the season. That's what happened with Ollie Gordon last year. Suddenly now he's a top-tier draft pick. That's what happened with their offensive line last year. So you're telling me in this situation, and this is how I look at the Big 12, I love players more than coaches just because sometimes I think natural athletic ability does and should take over, but coaching certainly matters. Who are the best two coaches in the Big 12 right now? It's not even close. It's Kyle Whittingham and it's Mike Gundy. Interchange them however you wish. Doesn't matter. But those two dudes can coach. And if you're in a conference that has a ton of questions, I'm going to revert back to Occam's razor. The simple solution is the right solution. And so, yeah, Oklahoma, Utah in the Big 12 title game, I think it's going to happen. That's one of the most, in my opinion, that's one of the most, that's a lock. Or maybe not a lock. Maybe if you're talking about all the things that we're going to talk about in terms of the playoff or conference title races, I'm most confident in that. I think Utah, I'd be floored if Utah Oklahoma State is not the Big 12 championship game. They're the two best coaches in the conference by far. I know Kansas State, I get that. But Sonny Dykes has been to a national champion. I don't care. Don't care. That team can play. All right, Jesse Simonton, last thing. He does a great job at on3.com. On3 Sports is phenomenal. They are Shannon Terry, what he's done there, it's been absolutely fantastic. And Jesse Simonton is their one of their columnists. And list season, he brings up the ACC coaches list. There's a debate at the top, man. Dabo Swinney is number one, and surprise, surprise, Mike Norvell's number two. I don't have a problem with it. And again, sort of like Mike Gundy, everyone wants to hate Dabo Swinney. And again, I think in our line of work, there are a lot of people who root for Dabo Swinney to fail. And that is absolutely preposterous because in this line of work, you shouldn't do that. Unless you're a columnist, okay. But there seems to be a lot of ulterior motives in terms of rooting against Dabo and rooting against Mike Gundy. Let me tell you, Dabo's still the best coach in the ACC. Jesse Simonton for On3, 100% accurate. He's right. Yeah, there's a little bit of a controversy because Mike Norvell's coming up. And yeah, so this is a hinge year for Dabo, to me. If this offense doesn't click, then that's a problem because he's got a great offensive coordinator. He's got a veteran quarterback. He's got a running back in Maffa who was phenomenal and an experienced offensive line. To me, this is the critical year for Dabo. If he fails, then that door is wide open for Mike Norvell. But as of now, that door is still just cracked. Now, what's the ultimate deciding factor? To me, it's experience versus inexperience between these two. And I'm not talking about coaching. I'm not talking about the headsets. I'm talking about on the field. We have to know if Mike Norvell can replace 5-star with 5-star. We have to know what kind of program Mike Norvell has built when you have a mass exodus. We don't know that yet. We don't know that yet. We do know Dabo can do it. Now, he hasn't done it successfully over the course of the last couple of seasons. I blame a lot of that with DJ Uiagalelei not necessarily fitting into what the offense was supposed to be. Maybe the coaching staff being a little more stubborn than it should be. That's why it's a critical year. Is Dabo a product of Deshaun and Trevor? Or is he actually a great coach that just lost his way a little bit? You know what that might, you know when that question might be answered? Maybe during the final 2 weeks of April, during the transfer portal window. It could happen. That's a big, big 2 weeks for Dabo because he's pretty much refused to do what a lot of other coaches have reluctantly embraced. So if he starts loading up during the transfer portal window, to me, that says he's reluctantly accepted the New World Order too. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens. All right, last one, Jesse Simonton. You're right about Dabo and Mike Norvell. You're wrong about Mac Brown. It's still North Carolina. Yeah, he's 0-3 in bowl games. Yeah, things fall apart in November. The quarterback situation, you could say he's wasted talent with Drake May and Sam Howell. I wouldn't, because I think Drake May is woefully overrated. But okay, I understand the NFL scouts. They love him. And what do we know about NFL scouts? They all are circular. They start somewhere in early January. The whole process goes through itself, and they end up right in the same place. So I think Drake May is going to fall back in all this discussion. But it really doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Developed a Marion Hampton into a good running back. Went through a terrible situation with Tez Walker. It worked out all right. And no, the season did not end the way that a lot of North Carolina fans would like. But the dude still has a national championship. The dude actually made North Carolina competitive before. Now, I know we can sit here and say, well, he hasn't adapted, I should say, to the new era. Mac Brown might not understand what it takes to win in the age of the portal and in NIL. Well, really? I could have sworn the number one receiver who everybody was talking about in September for off-the-field reasons, I think he was a transfer. Oh, yeah, Tez Walker did. He transferred twice. So Mac he should not be the 9th ranked coach in the ACC. A national championship matters. And unlike Les Miles, he has adapted. Unlike Ed Orgeron, his program is not completely out of control. So this is a little preposterous. And I love Jesse. Jesse's a great dude. Max should not be number 9. That's insane. BreakingT.com. Reminder, guys, go to BreakingT.com/smothered and covered. Here's that Oklahoma State shirt we talked about a little earlier in the show. The best in Oklahoma again. Wouldn't be surprised if they're one of the best teams in the college football playoff in 2024. That'll do it for this edition of College Football Smothered and Covered. Appreciate you guys checking out the show. It's been a little while, obviously. If you guys don't know, got a new gig doing the Braves podcast for AJC. So trying to figure out timing again, trying to figure out how often to do the show, all that stuff. And so please bear with me as we sort of go through all of this. Major League Baseball season starting really has thrown a loop through things. And of course, Easter weekend coming in the middle of all of that makes things even harder and more difficult to sort of gauge when these things should go live. Because let's be honest, you're a college football fan. You need to see what's going on, and you need to know what all of us think in terms of the offseason, or no offseason, Josh, I'm sorry, during the downtime of the college football calendar. Please give us a rating, 5 stars, 1 star, comments, all that stuff. I want to know what you like. I want to know what you dislike. I want to know what you want from this show. Until next time, y'all have a great day.